The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber swung open with a deep resonant sound that echoed throughout the cavernous hall. Ambassador Olivia Carter took a deep breath as she led the small human delegation forward. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she maintained a composed expression, knowing that the fate of Earth might depend on what happened in the next few minutes. The council chamber was unlike anything humans had ever constructed, a vast dome stretching hundreds of meters overhead, with walls that seemed to shimmer between solid matter and pure energy. Representatives from over 500 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered semicircular rows that rose like a massive amphitheater around a central speaking platform. Some aliens appeared almost humanoid, while others defied comprehension, breathing through external apparatus or floating in specialized containment fields. High Counselor Trellick, a towering 8-foot-tall being with iridescent scales and 6 eyes that blinked in alternating patterns, raised a clawed hand for silence. The chamber immediately fell quiet. Humans of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council for the first time in your species' history. This is unprecedented, as your kind has not yet achieved independent, faster than light travel. Trellick spoke each word translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages through neural interfaces. This emergency session was called because your actions have created a diplomatic crisis of the highest order. Olivia stepped onto the speaker platform, feeling impossibly small beneath the gaze of thousands of alien representatives. She wore the simple but elegant dark blue uniform that had been hastily designated as Earth's official diplomatic attire just days earlier. High Counselor, distinguished representatives of the Council, I thank you for granting us this audience. Ambassador Carter began, her voice steady, despite her fear. We come seeking understanding, not conflict. A harsh barking laugh erupted from one side of the chamber. A reptilian delegate with crimson scales leaned forward. The humans seek understanding after they destroyed a Drexian science vessel. An entire research team lost because these primitives shot first without attempting communication. Murmurs of agreement rippled through sections of the chamber. With respect, Delegate Ambassador Carter countered, that is not what happened. The data we provided shows clearly that our deep space outpost attempted communication for 17 minutes before the vessel breached our security perimeter. We had no way of knowing it was a science vessel, as it matched the profile of a known pirate configuration. She gestured, and holographic displays appeared showing the encounter. From multiple angles, Olivia had rehearsed this moment extensively, knowing it would be their best defense. The signals sent by the Drexian vessel were incompatible with our communication systems. But more importantly, High Counselor, she turned back to Trellick. We have discovered evidence that suggests this encounter was deliberately engineered. A wave of surprised exclamations swept the chamber silence. Trellick commanded. The human will explain this. Claim. Olivia nodded, and with a gesture, changed. The display, we recovered fragments of the vessel's database. During analysis, we discovered that the Drexian ship had been provided with outdated information about human communication protocols, information that would ensure their signals would be unreadable to our systems. Furthermore, their approach vector was specifically calculated to appear hostile based on known human defense parameters. The crimson-scaled delegate rose to his feet in fury. This is absurd. The humans fabricate evidence to escape responsibility. High Counselor Zara of the Eldari, a being composed of what appeared to be luminous energy contained within a humanoid form, spoke for the first time. Their claim warrants investigation. Drexian science vessels do not typically operate in that sector without council authorization. The chamber erupted in debate. Olivia stood silently watching as species with millennia of interstellar political experience argued about Earth's fate. She noticed several delegates communicating through subtle gestures and realized alliances were forming and shifting before her eyes. This was interstellar politics at its most intense, and humans were now unexpectedly at its center. Counselor Trellick raised both hands for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke. Earth representatives, you have raised serious questions. We will convene a special investigative committee. But be warned, if your claims prove false, the consequences for your world will be severe. You are not yet under council. Protection. Ambassador Diana Reed, one of the human delegation, whispered to Olivia. This is our opening. Ask for observer status while the investigation proceeds. Olivia nodded slightly, then addressed the Council High Counselor. Given that Earth's security may be at risk, we formally request temporary observer status within the Council until this matter is resolved. This would grant us basic diplomatic protections while allowing us to assist in the investigation. The request sent another ripple of surprise through the gathered representatives. Observer status for a pre-propulsion civilization was virtually unheard of. Trellick conferred quickly with several senior counselors before responding. Your request is unusual, but these circumstances are unprecedented. The Council grants Earth provisional observer status for 30 standard cycles. Any violation of Council protocols during this period will result in immediate revocation and potential sanctions. Olivia bowed respectfully. Thank you, High Counselor. The people of Earth are grateful for the Council's wisdom. As the human delegation was escorted from the central platform to a small observation gallery, Ambassador Reed leaned close to Olivia. We have a foothold now, but this is just the beginning. Someone wanted us to fire on that ship. Someone who doesn't want Earth joining the galactic community. Olivia nodded, watching the continuing debate in the chamber. Who would benefit from keeping humans isolated? Probably several factions. Commander Jack Wilson. The military attaché said quietly, Not everyone welcomes new species, especially ones as adaptable as humans. I served in enough conflict zones on Earth to recognize the signs. Someone is playing a very long game, and worthy pawns. 3 days after their appearance before the Council, the human delegation was assigned temporary quarters within the massive space station that served as the Council's headquarters. The structure itself was an engineering marvel, an artificial world housing millions of beings from across the galaxy, with distinct environmental zones for different biological needs. Olivia stood at the viewport in their common area, staring out at the spectacular vista of swirling nebula gases and distant stars. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard and the air carried unfamiliar scents, but it was remarkably comfortable for humans. Ambassador, we have a visitor, Wilson announced from the entrance. Olivia turned to see a tall, willowy being, with pale blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. The Eldari High Counselor Zara had shed her energy form and adopted a more conventional physical appearance for this meeting. Ambassador Carter. High Counselor Zara said, her voice melodic. I hope I'm not intruding. Not at all. Olivia gestured to a seating area designed to accommodate various physiologies. We are honored by your presence. When they were seated, Zara spoke directly. The investigation into the Drexian vessel incident has already uncovered disturbing information. The ship was indeed operating without proper authorization, and its navigational records had been altered. That confirms our suspicions, Olivia said. But why target Earth? We have barely begun to explore our own solar system. Zara tilted her head in what appeared to be the Eldari equivalent of a thoughtful frown. You must understand, Ambassador, that the galaxy is not merely a collection of species. It is a complex web of alliances, economic interests, and ancient grudges. Humanity has attracted attention. What kind of attention? Some see potential in your kind. Others see threat. Zara explained. Humans adapt quickly, solve problems creatively, and reproduce at rates that many established species find alarming. The Council archives, I learned that Earth has been observed for centuries. Though contact was deemed premature, your development has been tracked. Olivia felt a chill run through her. You mean we've been studied without our knowledge? Standard protocol for pre-propulsion civilizations, Zara said matter-of-factly. But there is something unique about Earth. The normal observation protocols were altered 200 cycles ago by a special directive. Certain information about your world became classified at the highest levels. Wilson leaned forward. Whose directive? That information remains sealed even to most council members, Zara replied. But I can tell you this. The incident with the Drexian vessel was likely meant to establish humans as dangerous and unready for contact. It nearly succeeded. Why are you telling us this? Olivia asked. The Eldari are one of the founding species of the Council. Why risk helping us? Zara was silent for a moment, something shifting beneath her blue skin like ripples on water. My species believes in balance. Ambassador, certain factions have interfered with Earth's natural development, and that violates our most sacred principles. The Council must remain fair, especially to emerging species. A subtle alarm chimed. From Zara's wrist device, I must return to Chambers, she said, rising. But a warning, Ambassador Carter. You have been granted unprecedented access for a new species. Many will resent this. Use your time wisely. Examine the Council archives you may find, answers there about Earth's special status, and be careful who you trust, even among your own delegation. After Zara departed, Wilson turned to Olivia. We need to get into those archives and find out what make. The Council archives were housed in a vast crystalline structure that pulsed with soft blue light. Ambassador Olivia Carter followed the Centauri guide through winding corridors that seemed to shift and realign as they walked. The Centauri resembled tall, slender humans with violet skin and eyes that reflected light like polished silver. Our arrangement is unofficial. Ambassador, the Centauri diplomat named Vex whispered, You will have 20 minutes to access the public archives. Anything regarding Earth should be available through standard channels except for the classified materials and the classified section. Olivia asked. The Centauri made a gesture that might have been a shrug. With the access code I provided, you can breach the first level of security. For deeper levels, you would need authorization from a High Counselor. They reached a circular chamber lined with what appeared to be liquid screens flowing along the walls. Vex gestured to an empty alcove. This terminal is isolated from the main system, less likely to trigger security protocols. Remember 20 minutes, then you must leave separately from the way we came. The Centauri prefer to maintain plausible deniability. After Vex departed, Olivia placed her hand on the interface. Panel A tingling sensation ran up her arm as the system calibrated to her neural patterns. The flowing screens around her solidified into readable text Earth Sol system records. Access. Granted, the system communicated directly into her mind. Show me the history of Council observation of Earth. Olivia thought data streamed across the screens. Earth had first been catalogued over 3,000 years ago by Andarian explorers. Initial assessments classified humans as a primitive species with potential for eventual development. The earliest formal observation post had been established during Earth's Bronze Age. An impressive archive of human development followed with detailed analysis of technological progress, cultural evolution, and genetic diversity. Olivia skimmed through centuries of reports until she reached the modern era. Show me the special directive regarding Earth issued approximately 200 cycles ago. Access, restricted authorization level 7 required. She entered the code Vex had provided, holding her breath, processing partial access granted. The screens flickered and fragmented data appeared. Earth Special Directive 11783, dated to what would be approximately 1843 on the human calendar. The directive had reclassified Earth from standard observation to special status monitoring. Certain genetic markers in the human population were flagged for tracking, but the reason for the reclassification and the identity of the council member who had issued the directive remained sealed. Show me all data on human genetic markers of interest to the council. A complex genetic sequence appeared alongside comparative data from several other species. The system identified unusual adaptability in human cellular structures and rapid neural pathway formation. Statistics showed humans possessed uncommon problem-solving capabilities and accelerated learning curves when compared to most council species. But one section was particularly illuminating, a report on human telepathic potential. The study suggested that a small percentage of humans carried dormant genetic sequences that, when activated, could develop into powerful psionic abilities. The report was marked with a symbol Olivia didn't recognize. She was so absorbed in the information, she almost missed the subtle shift in the room's ambient lighting. A security scan was in progress. Olivia quickly cleared the screens and prepared to leave when a new presence entered the archive chamber. Ambassador Carter. a voice said softly. I thought, I might find you here. Olivia turned to see a humanoid figure with metallic gold skin and eyes that changed color as he spoke. She recognized him as Delegate Laren from the Archivists Guild, one of the oldest members of the council. Delegate Laren. Olivia maintained her composure despite her alarm. I was just familiarizing myself with council records regarding Earth. The archivist moved closer, his eyes shifting to a deep purple. I notice you accessed some rather specific information regarding genetic studies. Your species' curiosity is remarkable but dangerous in these halls. Ambassador. Many eyes watch the archives, especially when a new species begins asking questions about their own history. Have I violated some protocol? Olivia asked, carefully. Not yet. The archivist seemed to smile, though his metallic features made it difficult to interpret. But I suggest we continue this conversation elsewhere. The archives have many listeners. He led her through a series of smaller corridors, until they reached what appeared to be a maintenance access way. The moment the door closed behind them, the archivist turned to her with an intensity that made Olivia step back. Ambassador, you must be more careful. There are factions within the council who are actively monitoring your delegation's movements, especially your inquiries about Earth. Are you warning me or threatening me? The archivist made a sound like soft chimes. His eyes shifted to a warm amber. I serve knowledge, Ambassador. The Archivists Guild preserves the true history of the galaxy. When information is classified or hidden, it violates our core principles. I have dedicated 800 years to ensuring that truth remains accessible. Why help humans? Because the truth about Earth has been buried for too long. The archivist reached into a hidden pocket and withdrew a small crystal that gleamed with internal light. Take this. It contains information about the classified directive regarding Earth information that someone has gone to great lengths to keep from your species. Olivia hesitated. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, the archivist said plainly. Trust is earned. But consider this, Ambassador, while many council species fear humanity's potential, others seek to exploit it. The diplomatic crisis with the Drexian vessel is merely a symptom of a much older conflict. The question you should be asking is not why Earth was classified, but who benefits from keeping humans isolated. Before Olivia could respond, a distant alarm began to sound. The archivist looked up sharply. Security protocols have been activated. Someone has discovered your unauthorized access. You must return to your quarters immediately. Take different routes. Avoid main corridors. He pressed the crystal into her hand and stepped back into the shadows of the maintenance tunnel. Olivia made her way back through the labyrinthine structure of the council station, avoiding the main thoroughfares as the archivist had suggested. When she finally reached the human delegation quarters, Commander Wilson was waiting with a grim expression. We have a problem, Ambassador, he said as soon as the door closed. The Drexian delegation has filed a formal complaint, claiming we tampered with evidence. They demand our observer status be revoked. Olivia showed him the crystal. The archivist gave me this. It supposedly contains information about why Earth was classified. Wilson examined it carefully. This could be valuable information, or it could be a trap. We need a secure way to access the data, Ambassador. Reed joined them. The Centauri provided us with a scanner that should be free of council monitoring systems, she said, retrieving a small device from a hidden compartment in the wall. We can use it to view the crystal. When they activated the scanner, the crystal projected a holographic display showing fragments of classified council records. The information was incomplete, but revealed a startling fact. 200 years ago, genetic samples from Earth had shown that humans possessed dormant genes that, when properly activated, could potentially develop abilities exceeding even the most powerful telepathic species in the council. There's more. Reed pointed to another data fragment. The directive classifying Earth had been issued by a mysterious group identified only as the Ascension Directorate. Their official reason was protection of a developing species, but internal communications suggested their true purpose was to prevent human genetic potential from being widely known. So some secret council faction has been keeping tabs on our DNA for centuries, Wilson said, and they don't want anyone else to know about it. But why engineer a diplomatic crisis now? Reed studied the data. Further records were harder to decipher, but they indicated a connection to something called the evolutionary convergence. Humans apparently represented a rare genetic path that could lead to abilities that most council species had either lost or never developed. The crystal contained one final piece of information, a security recording from what appeared to be a private meeting. Drexian delegates conversed with tall, shadowy figures whose features remained obscured. "The vessel is prepared," one Drexian said. "The humans will respond with force when their communications are ignored. Their defensive nature is predictable. And when they destroy a scientific vessel, the Council will have no choice but to quarantine." "Earth," another voice replied. "The humans will remain isolated, their potential contained." Olivia stared at the recording. The Drexians sacrificed their own people, deliberately orchestrated this crisis. Not the Drexians as a species, Wilson corrected. Just certain factions working. "With this Ascension Directorate, we need to bring this evidence to the Council," Reed said. "Not yet," Olivia replied. "These are fragments possibly altered. We need more concrete proof. And we need to understand the politics at play. Who stands with this Directorate, who opposes them?" A notification chimed on their communication panel. "Ambassador Carter, your presence is requested by High Counselor Trelac. Urgent matter regarding the Earth observation status," the message read. Ambassador Olivia Carter stared at the holographic display showing the layout of the Galactic Council station. The immense structure housed not only the council chambers, but countless diplomatic offices, research facilities, and living quarters for millions of beings. Their human delegation quarters were marked with a small blue indicator currently under observation by Council security. "We need allies," Ambassador Reed said, studying the display alongside her. "The security detail, Trelac assigned, is monitoring all our communications and movements." Commander Wilson nodded gravely. "It's not just monitoring, it's containment. They want to isolate us while they decide our fate." Olivia zoomed in on a section of the lower levels. This area houses the Centauri Diplomatic Corps. Vex indicated they might be willing to help us further, but reaching them without alerting our watchers will be difficult. Wilson pointed to a maintenance shaft that runs behind our quarters. It connects to the environmental systems for this entire sector. The schematics Vex provided suggest we could use it to move throughout the station undetected. "It's risky," Reed cautioned. "If we're caught in restricted areas, it could give the Drexian delegation the excuse they need to have us expelled." Olivia considered their options. "We need more information about this Ascension Directorate, and we need to understand why human genetic potential is so important to them. I don't see another choice." 30 minutes later, Olivia slipped into the maintenance shaft, while Wilson created a diversion that drew the attention of their security detail. The narrow passageway was dimly lit, with pipes and conduits running along the walls. The artificial gravity felt slightly weaker here, making her movements easier but requiring careful coordination. Following the route memorized from Vex schematics, she navigated through the station's infrastructure. Eventually, she reached an access panel that, according to the plans, should open into a service corridor near the Centauri diplomatic section. As she prepared to open the panel, voices from the other side made her freeze. Two beings conversed in hushed tones. "The humans are becoming problematic," one voice said. "The Eldari are supporting their request for a full investigation. That cannot be allowed," the second voice responded, deeper and resonating strangely. "If the Council discovers our involvement with the Drexian vessel, the Directorate could lose influence. The Directorate has maintained Earth's quarantine for 2 centuries, the first voice countered. "We cannot allow human potential to spread throughout the galaxy. You know what the simulations predict. Their adaptive abilities, their neural plasticity, if fully developed, could eventually surpass even the Founders." There was a pause before the deeper voice spoke again. "Then perhaps more direct measures are required. The Council would certainly revoke Earth's observer status if their representatives were implicated in sabotage or theft of restricted technologies. No direct action." The first voice was firm. "The Eldari are watching too closely. We must be subtle. We have agents within the human government on Earth. They can ensure the diplomatic mission fails from within. The Council will have no choice but to rescind their status. The voices moved away, leaving Olivia pressed against the access panel, her heart pounding. The Directorate had infiltrated Earth governments. This was bigger than she had imagined when she was certain the corridor was clear. Olivia slipped through the panel and made her way to the Centauri diplomatic section. Vex was waiting in a small antechamber, designed for private conversations. Ambassador the Centauri said, his silver eyes reflecting the ambient light. I feared you might not make it. Council security has increased throughout this sector. I overheard something concerning, Olivia said quickly. The Ascension Directorate apparently has agents within Earth's government's. Vex nodded slowly. This is not surprising, Ambassador. The Directorate maintains influence on many developing worlds, but you should know, they are not the only faction interested in humanity. What do you mean? The Centauri gestured, and the room's lighting dimmed. A holographic display appeared showing what appeared to be a political map of the Council. The Council is not a single unified entity, Ambassador, but rather a complex alliance of interests. The Ascension Directorate is powerful, but secretive. They believe controlled evolution of species serves galactic stability, and they see humans as a threat to that stability. Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh, not a threat. Ambassador, a resource. Human genetic potential, particularly your neural adaptability, is unique among current Council species. The Directorate does not fear humans. They wish to control your development, harness your potential for their own purposes. Olivia frowned. Potential for what exactly? The Centauri hesitated. There is a term in Council records: transcendence. The ability for consciousness to evolve beyond physical form. Many species in the galaxy once possessed the genetic foundations for such development, but lost it through evolutionary divergence or technological dependence. Humans retain this foundation that sounds more like religion than science. To primitive cultures, they are often indistinguishable. Vex replied. The Directorate believes that controlled transcendence is possible, but only for certain carefully managed genetic lines. They have spent millennia guiding the evolution of promising species, and they've been influencing human development, Olivia realized. For centuries. The Centauri nodded. The Directorate is patient, Ambassador. They think in terms of evolutionary timescales. But they are not the only faction with interest in humanity. The Eldari and their allies believe in natural development and freedom of choice. They oppose the Directorate's manipulations. So the Eldari are our allies, not exactly, Vex cautioned. They have their own agenda. The Eldari believe all species should develop naturally without interference. They oppose the Directorate, but they also believe humans should develop in isolation without counsel, technology, or assistance. They supported your observer status because they recognized the Directorate's hand in the Drexian incident and the Centauri. Olivia asked carefully, where do your people stand? Vex's silver eyes seemed to shimmer. The Centauri. Alliance follows practical interests, Ambassador. We believe in balanced power within the Council. No faction should become dominant. Humanity represents a potential shift in galactic politics. That makes you valuable. So your help is purely strategic. The Centauri made a gesture of acknowledgement. We are not sentimental, Ambassador, but our interests align for now. The Directorate must not be allowed to control humanity's development. It would destabilize the careful balance that has maintained peace. For millennia, Vex produced another crystal similar to the one the archivist had provided. This contains information about Council members sympathetic to your position and those aligned with the Directorate. It also includes communication protocols that should bypass your security surveillance. As Olivia took the crystal. Vex added, but be warned, Ambassador. The Directorate has existed for thousands of years. They have agents throughout the Council, including possibly within your own delegation. Trust must be earned, not assumed. Upon returning to the human quarters through the maintenance shafts, Olivia found Wilson and Reed waiting anxiously. We were about to send a search party, Ambassador Wilson said. The security detail has been asking questions about your whereabouts. We told them you were meditating and requested privacy. Olivia showed them the crystal from Vex. The situation is more complex than we realized. The Ascension Directorate has been manipulating human development for centuries. and they have agents within Earth. Governments, Reed looked alarmed. That means our mission could be compromised from within. Even our communications back to Earth might be monitored. We need to identify potential infiltrators, Olivia said. But first we need to understand the council politics at play. The Directorate isn't the only faction with interest in humanity. They analyzed the data from Vex Crystal, which contained profiles of key council members and their suspected affiliations. The Ascension Directorate appeared to have support from approximately 1/3 of council species, primarily those with stable but slow technological development. The Eldari led a faction of roughly equal size focused on principles of natural evolution and non-interference. The remaining council members, including the Centauri, maintained neutral positions, shifting alliances as needed to preserve balance. The crystal also contained something unexpected, an invitation to a gathering of neutral council members interested in discussing Earth's potential role in galactic affairs. It's obviously risky, Wilson said, but this could be our opportunity to build the coalition we need if we can convince enough neutral parties to support a full investigation. Of the Drexian incident, we might expose the Directorate's manipulation. Reed looked skeptical, or it could be a trap. The Directorate could have planted this invitation to lure us into violating council protocols, giving them the excuse they need to revoke our observer status. We can't afford to ignore potential allies, Olivia said. But you're right. We need to be cautious. Wilson, you'll accompany me, Reed. You need to establish secure communication with Earth using the protocols Vex provided. We need to warn our government about potential Directorate infiltration. The gathering was scheduled for what humans would consider midnight in a section of the station, designed to resemble a natural environment from a long dead world. Massive bioluminescent plants provided soft lighting while small anti-gravity platforms floated above a terrain of purple vegetation. The council chamber hummed with anticipation. As delegates from hundreds of species filled the tiered seats, Ambassador Olivia Carter stood with her team reviewing their strategy one final time. The evidence they had gathered about the Drexian incident and the Directorate's centuries of manipulation was organized in secure data crystals, ready to be presented. Commander Wilson scanned the chamber, identifying key delegates. We have potential allies in the outer rim sections, he said quietly. The Centauri bloc has positioned themselves strategically, and the neutral coalition from last night's gathering appears to be present in force. Ambassador Reed nodded. The Eldari delegation just arrived. High Counselor Zara is among them. That could work in our favor, or not, Olivia cautioned. The Eldari oppose the Directorate, but they also believe in non-interference. They might not support our call for council protection. A subtle tone resonated through the chamber, signaling the session was about to begin. High Counselor Trelak took his position at the center of the presiding council, his scaled form radiating authority. This emergency session has been convened to address the diplomatic incident involving Earth and the Drexian research vessel, Trelak announced. Ambassador Carter will present the human position, followed by the Drexian delegation. The council will then deliberate and render judgment as Olivia stepped onto the central platform. She felt the weight of countless alien gazes. The evidence they had gathered would expose centuries of manipulation by the Directorate, but it would also reveal how easily humanity had been influenced. That knowledge could change humanity's understanding of its own history forever. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, Olivia began. Earth comes before you, not merely to address a single incident, but to expose a pattern of interference that spans centuries. A murmur ran through the chamber as delegates leaned forward in interest or concern. The destruction of the Drexian vessel was not a random act of aggression by humanity, but the culmination of a carefully orchestrated plan. Olivia continued, "We have evidence that the vessel was specifically configured to provoke a defensive response." She activated the first data crystal projecting records recovered from the Drexian ship. The information clearly showed that the vessel's approach was designed to appear hostile, and its communication protocols were deliberately incompatible with Earth systems. Furthermore, we have uncovered evidence that this incident is merely the latest in a long history of manipulation. She activated another crystal showing the classified directive regarding Earth's special status. The council records, show that Earth has been subject to extraordinary observation and intervention for over 2 centuries. The directive was issued by a faction within the Council known as the Ascension Directorate. The chamber erupted in commotion. Trellick was forced to call for order, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in what appeared to be alarm. Ambassador. These are serious accusations, High Counselor Zara of the Eldari said, rising from her seat. You implicate a council faction in deliberate sabotage and unauthorized intervention on a developing world. The evidence must be examined thoroughly, the crimson-scaled Drexian delegate hissed in outrage. This is preposterous. The humans fabricate conspiracy theories to avoid responsibility for their aggressive actions. Where is the proof that this directorate even exists, let alone orchestrated anything? Olivia remained calm. We submit all our evidence for council examination, including communications intercepted between Drexian agents and directorate representatives, specifically discussing the planned provocation. She activated the final crystal, revealing the recorded conversation she'd received from the archivist. The recording was fragmentary, but clearly showed Drexian officials discussing the planned incident and its intended consequences. The Drexian delegate rose in fury. This is a deception. These recordings are falsified. High Counselor Trellick raised a clawed hand for silence. The evidence will be examined by council security experts to verify authenticity, he declared. But these allegations extend beyond the immediate incident. Ambassador Carter appears to be suggesting a systematic violation of council non-interference protocols regarding developing worlds. High Counselor. Olivia confirmed. The Ascension Directorate has manipulated human development for centuries, tracking specific genetic markers and influencing our societies to preserve what they call transcendence potential. A tall delegate with features obscured by a shimmer field stood. This is absurd. Humanity developed in isolation. Any suggestion otherwise is paranoid fantasy designed to elevate their importance. Olivia recognized the vocal patterns from the conversation she'd overheard in the corridor. This was a directorate. Representative with respect. Delegate, our evidence suggests otherwise. We have identified patterns of influence within Earth governments consistent with external manipulation. Decisions regarding technological development, resource allocation, and even population movement show subtle but consistent patterns that have shaped human society. The delegate seemed to flicker with agitation. The humans overestimate their importance. We have no interest in their primitive world. High Counselor Zara intervened. Perhaps we should examine the evidence before dismissing it. The Eldari have long suspected unauthorized intervention in developing worlds. The pattern described by Ambassador Carter aligns with concerns we have raised in previous centuries. Chamber divided into factions as delegates argued among themselves. Olivia could see alliances forming and shifting in real time. The Centauri bloc maintained careful neutrality, while the delegates she had met at the previous night's gathering began speaking in support of a full investigation. Trellick called for order once more. These accusations require thorough examination. A special investigative committee will be formed to evaluate all evidence regarding both the Drexian incident and these broader claims of interference. The obscured directorate delegate moved forward. This is unnecessary and disruptive. The humans have presented no credible evidence of this conspiracy they imagine. If anything, their actions demonstrate they are not ready for council involvement. Their observer status should be revoked immediately, Commander Wilson whispered to Olivia. They're trying to shut down the investigation before it begins. We need to press harder. Olivia nodded, then addressed the council. Again, High Counselor Earth requests that this investigation include examination of the special directive that classified our world. We believe all council members should know why our development has been monitored and manipulated. A new voice entered. The debate a delegate Olivia hadn't noticed before. This one appeared as a hovering sphere of swirling energy. The question of human genetic potential is not merely academic. It has significant implications for galactic stability. The Council has maintained peace for millennia through careful management of technological and biological development. Zara turned toward the energy sphere. So the Directorate does acknowledge its interest in human genetics. Despite your previous denial, the chamber fell silent as the implication became clear. The spherical delegate had inadvertently confirmed the Directorate's existence and interest in humanity. Before the debate could continue, a council security officer approached Trelak and whispered something urgent. The High Counselor's scales shifted to a deep blue, indicating alarm. This session is temporarily suspended. Trelak announced, "We have received reports of unauthorized transmissions from Earth. A signal has been detected carrying detailed council information, including classified protocols and coordinates. All eyes turn to the human delegation. We have sent no unauthorized transmissions," Olivia stated firmly. "Our communications with Earth have been limited to warning our government about possible infiltration." The security officer projected data showing the transmission origin. This signal originated from Earth diplomatic frequencies. Ambassador, using encryption protocols matching those found in your delegation quarters, Wilson stepped forward. "This is a setup. Someone is trying to discredit us before the investigation can begin." The Drexian delegate hissed triumphantly. "The humans reveal their true nature. They steal council secrets while pretending to seek justice." Trelak raised his hands. "For silence, this matter must be investigated immediately. The human delegation will be confined to quarters until we determine the source and content of these transmissions. The evidence regarding the Drexian incident and alleged Directorate activities will still be examined, but Earth's observer status is suspended pending investigation." As they were escorted from the chamber, Olivia could see the satisfaction in the posture of the Directorate delegates. They had been outmaneuvered, back in their quarters now under heavy security. Wilson paced angrily. This was clearly orchestrated. The moment we presented evidence exposing the Directorate, they manufactured this transmission crisis to discredit us. Reed was examining their communication systems. There's no record of any outgoing transmission from our systems, but someone with knowledge of our protocols could have spoofed our signature. The security lockdown means we can't contact our allies. Olivia said, "We need to find out who sent that transmission and why a soft chime indicated someone at their door." When it slid open, they were surprised to see Vex, the Centauri diplomat. He was accompanied by a council security officer, Ambassador Carter. "The council security detail has authorized a brief consultation regarding the..." Ambassador Olivia Carter stared at the emergency transmission from Earth. The video showed scenes of chaos in major cities around the world. Strange energy signatures were detected over population centers, and reports indicated targeted attacks on specific individuals and families. "They're actually doing it," Wilson said, his voice hollow. "Eliminating bloodlines they've monitored for centuries." Reed was coordinating with Earth Defense Forces, using emergency protocols. "The pattern is clear. Reported attacks are focused on specific genetic groups, families with histories of unusual cognitive abilities, accelerated learning, or what some cultures called psychic potential." Olivia turned to High Counselor Zara, whose holographic form flickered. "In their quarters, we need council intervention immediately. This is a direct violation of every non-interference protocol." Zara's expression was grim. "I have called an emergency session, but the Directorate has significant influence. Many council members remain unconvinced that these events are connected to council factions. They suggest it could be internal human conflict." "That's absurd," Wilson snapped. "The technology being deployed on Earth is clearly not of human origin." The Eldari nodded. "We have analysts examining the energy signatures, but the Directorate has had centuries to prepare this contingency. Their agents are using technology specifically designed to appear primitive enough that it could be attributed to human development. We don't have time for political maneuvering," Olivia said firmly. "Earth is under attack. People are dying." Zara's form seemed to intensify, her energy signature brightening. "There is another option. Ambassador 1 that circumvents council politics. The Founders protocol." "What's that?" Wilson asked. Zara explained. "The Council's founding species established a protocol before they transcended physical existence. It allows any species facing extinction-level threat to appeal directly to the collective consciousness. The Founders left behind the appeal bypasses the Council entirely. but we're not facing extinction. Reed pointed out just targeted attacks on specific populations. Technically true, the High Counselor acknowledged, but the Directorate's actions constitute an attempt to artificially alter your species' evolutionary path. That qualifies under the broadest interpretation of the protocol. What would this appeal involve? Olivia asked. You would need to travel to the Founder's archive. Zara said, the physical repository exists in Council space, but the consciousness it connects to exists beyond normal spacetime. The appeal must be made in person by representatives of the threatened species. The archive is under security lockdown. Wilson pointed out, and we're confined to quarters. The Eldari's holographic form shifted. The lockdown is precisely why this might work. The Directorate would not expect such a move, and I can provide temporary credentials that would grant you access. But you would need to move quickly before the Directorate realizes our intention. It's our best option, Olivia decided. How do we proceed? 30 minutes later, dressed in the ceremonial garments of Eldari diplomatic aides, Olivia and Wilson moved through the Council station, toward the Founder's archive. Zara's credentials had allowed them past initial security checkpoints, but the archive itself would have additional measures. Their Eldari disguises were convincing. The specialized garments containing technology that partially altered their biometric signatures. Reed remained behind, coordinating with Earth defenses and maintaining communication with their allies. The Founder's archive was housed in the station's central core, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with its own inner light. As they approached the final security checkpoint, Wilson whispered, "They're scanning for biological signatures." "Stay calm," Olivia replied. "The Eldari technology should mask our human readings enough to pass basic scans." The security officer, A being composed of what appeared to be living metal, examined their credentials. "Your presence was not scheduled." Delegate Zara did not inform Central Security of additional aides. High Counselor. Zara requested immediate analysis of archive records regarding historical transcendence patterns, Olivia said, using the exact phrasing Zara had provided. "The situation on Earth has prompted urgent research." The officer hesitated, clearly suspicious, but Zara's credentials carried significant authority. "Proceed to analysis chamber 3 only. The restricted sections remain sealed under emergency protocols." Once inside the archive, Wilson whispered, "That was too close." The security officer was seconds away from calling for verification. "We need to move." Quickly, Olivia said. According to Zara, the interface for the Founder's protocol is in the central chamber, not the analysis rooms. They moved deeper into the archive, careful to avoid other researchers. The crystalline corridors seemed to shift and realign as they walked, as if the structure itself was alive and aware of their presence. Finally, they reached a massive circular chamber at the archive's heart. The chamber was empty of personnel but filled with swirling patterns of light that flowed. Across the walls, floor and ceiling, in the center stood a simple platform of what appeared to be pure crystal. "This is it," Olivia said. "The interface," Zara described. As they approached the platform, alarms suddenly blared throughout the archive. "A security lockdown. The High Counselor warned us this might happen." Wilson said, "We need to hurry." Olivia stepped onto the platform, immediately feeling a strange resonance, as if every cell in her body was vibrating at a new frequency. The swirling patterns of light converged, flowing toward her, forming a column of pure energy. Wilson watched in amazement as the energy enveloped Olivia, her form becoming partially transparent. "Is this supposed to happen?" he asked, but received no answer. Olivia appeared to be in some kind of trance, her consciousness connected to something beyond the physical chamber. Within the energy field, Olivia experienced something impossible to describe in human language. Her mind expanded, connecting to what felt like countless others, not as individual entities, but as facets of a vast unified consciousness. Collective consciousness. "We acknowledge your presence." A voice that was many voices spoke directly into her mind. "You invoke the Founder's protocol, a right of appeal, granted to species facing existential threat state. The nature of your appeal." Olivia focused her thoughts, projecting them into the collective consciousness. "Humanity Earth faces targeted elimination of specific genetic lines by a council faction. known as the Ascension Directorate. They seek to prevent our natural development and potential transcendence. We are aware of the Directorate's activities, the voices responded. They have manipulated many species throughout galactic history, always, seeking to control the path to transcendence, never allowing natural evolution to proceed without interference. Then you will help us? Olivia asked. The collective seemed to consider. That depends on what you seek. Human. What outcome do you desire? Justice, Olivia thought. Protection for Earth. The freedom to develop without interference. These are political concepts, the voices replied. The Council was created to address such concerns. We exist beyond such limitations. Then what can you offer? Olivia felt frustration. Building Earth is under attack now. People are dying. The collective consciousness shifted somehow, focusing more intensely. Your species stands at a critical juncture. Human. You possess potential rare among current galactic species. The capacity for natural transcendence without technological assistance or genetic manipulation. This is what the Directorate fears. This is why they have monitored your kind for centuries. Images flooded Olivia's mind showing the long history of human development. The Directorate's subtle manipulations across millennia became clear. They hadn't merely observed humanity. They had carefully guided human evolution, selecting for certain traits, preserving bloodlines with specific genetic markers while simultaneously suppressing technologies and knowledge that might accelerate human development beyond their control. The Directorate believes transcendence must be guided. Controlled, the voices continued. They fear what they cannot predict, what they cannot manage. Humanity represents unpredictability, potential beyond their models. What does that mean for us now? Olivia asked. We cannot intervene directly in Council affairs, the collective responded. That was our agreement when we established the Council before our own transcendence, but we can offer knowledge, truth that has been hidden. The energy field surrounding Olivia intensified. Images and concepts flooded her mind. Information about human genetic potential, the true history of councils, founding, and most importantly, the nature of transcendence itself. She understood suddenly what the Directorate truly feared. Not that humans would fail to achieve transcendence, but that they might an incident and alleged Directorate activities will still be examined. But Earth's observer status is suspended pending investigation, as they were escorted from the chamber. Olivia could see the satisfaction in the posture of the Directorate delegates. They had been outmaneuvered. Back in their quarters now under heavy security, Wilson paced angrily. This was clearly orchestrated. The moment we presented evidence exposing the Directorate, they manufactured this transmission crisis to discredit us. Reed was examining their communication systems. There's no record of any outgoing transmission from our systems, but someone with knowledge of our protocols could have spoofed our signature. The security lockdown means we can't contact our allies. Olivia said, we need to find out who sent that transmission and why.